Hello and welcome to 3 Minute Gaming. I'm Nathan, and today I'm going to tell you if this game's worth your time and bandwidth. Today's game is Diablo 1, yes, the original classic dungeon crawler from 1997. Diablo has since been re-released for modern PCs via GOG with its controversial Hellfire expansion. The question I'm looking to answer here is, does this game hold up? Let's find out. Diablo is a foundational action RPG with an emphasis on its high difficulty, build crafting, and incredible atmosphere. A portal to hell has opened under the town of Tristram, and you're here to put a stop to it. While the story is light, the background of this tale is conveyed to the game's handful of townsfolk, as well as books and environmental storytelling on the way down the game's 16 floors. Now, if you're coming to Diablo from any of its sequels, you'll find it is a quite different beast. Diablo 1 was originally designed as a rogue-style game, not to be confused with the modern term roguelike, and was going to be completely turn-based. When the devs were messing around, they basically ramped the speed up enough that the game moved in real time, and decided they liked it better, so it stuck. Because of this, the game has a lot of trappings more familiar to those older dungeon crawlers than its sequels. While there is loot, it isn't nearly at the level of future installments, and there's no skill trees or anything like that. Your character building is forged mostly around distributing stat points in the 4 categories, as well as finding magic books that'll teach you a variety of spells. Yes, spells are based on random drops or Adria's shop, as the game was intended to be run-based, meaning some dives you just won't get what you want. Combat is similar to other ARPGs, though with a few nuances. First, the game is very slow-paced, probably from its rogue-inspired design, which means your positioning is much more important than in future games. There's no running here except in town and Hellfire, so you'll be power walking a lot. Additionally, hitboxes can be a bit wonky, as enemies in motion can often dodge your projectiles, but this means you can do the same to them. While there's less loot, it's still extremely important, depending on which of the 3 classes you picked. Though with these 3 classes, the game does encourage high build diversity, and by that I mean every class should use magic if they want to get past floor 12. And the game has a heavy RNG focus around the quality of the loot you get. Find an incredible ring early, or get screwed. It's all in the spirit of start another run. And honestly, that's Diablo 1. A foundational game that evolved significantly on its sequels, it's still rich in atmosphere and with plenty of challenge. So what do I like about Diablo 1? Well, as mentioned, this game's atmosphere is incredible, with its excellent lighting, graphics, music, and slower pacing all coming together to make it quite spooky. Additionally, the build crafting is extremely fun, with each class able to dabble in what makes the others good, allowing for you to build around both the gear you find as well as your particular style of play. And lastly, this game is still very addicting and holds up in that way, with me wanting to try another dive on either a harder difficulty or with a new class every time after I beat it. When it comes to the bad, this game's difficulty is all over the place, with the final few floors turning into bullet hell nightmares that feel nearly impossible if your build wasn't expertly crafted. Also, individual classes aren't remotely balanced to each other, with the sorcerer being far and away the most powerful class out of them all. Exacerbating on this difficulty, the game has a massive RNG reliance when it comes to whether or not you'll succeed. Some runs I'd find an amazing piece of gear on the first 5 or so floors that would carry me to hell, and others I'd have basically nothing by the final few stages, requiring a run restart to try and salvage it. And lastly, this game's slower pace and clunky hitboxes and mechanics certainly feel aged in a modern context, particularly stuff like the randomization of shops and the small inventory. If you're familiar with this era of games, it's more palatable, but someone coming in without that history will probably find it frustrating. As you know, I rate games here on a 3-point scale: must play, maybe consider, don't bother, and I'll circle back to that big question: is Diablo still good? And the answer is, well, yes, but with some context. At the time, this game was revolutionary, no doubt, and now it does hold up well in terms of its atmosphere, music, and build planning, but the weird RNG paired with the slower, clunkier gameplay will probably turn a lot of people off. If you're a fan of the franchise in general, I think it's definitely worth looking back to see how it all began with this absolutely classic dive to hell. And that is all I have for you today. Thank you so much for watching. If you played Diablo 1, what are your thoughts on it and the Hellfire expansion? I didn't actually touch on the expansion. I think it's pretty great, but I know the original creators hate it, so play it and make your own decision, I guess. But regardless, please let me know in the comments, and then go out there and give Diablo a try.